On wave 1, 4 frozen enemies debut on this wave. On wave 2, 8 frozen enemies debut here. On wave 3, there are 4 frozen enemies, then 3 snowy enemies which debut on this wave, and then 4 frozen enemies spawn in afterwards. On wave 4, there are 8 snowy enemies, and then 3 frozen enemies that spawn in. On wave 5, there's 1 packed ice enemy that spawns in on this enemy, which debuts here. There is 4 frozen enemies, 1 packed ice enemy, and 4 frozen enemies. On wave 6, 3 packed ice enemies spawn in, and 8 snowy enemies spawn in. And it is only when it spawns in on wave 6 of Frost mode does it have boss health or boss immunity. All the other times it does not have this. On wave 7, there is the debut of the snow minion that is a boss, and 8 snowy enemies spawn in here. Now, the snowy minion does not have boss immunity by standard. Meanwhile, on wave 8, 3 packed ice enemies spawn in, 6 frozen enemies spawn in, and 6 snowy enemies that are nimble spawn in. Meanwhile, on wave 9, 5 packed ice enemies spawn in, and 3 frost mysteries spawn in their debut on this wave. Now, while I won't talk about most enemies' abilities, that will be a separate video to this, I will talk about enemies that the enemy in question can spawn in. So the Frost Mystery is a mystery enemy that can spawn in a random enemy, and the developers, or actually the testers, have told us that the enemies that spawn in are those that have a similar-ish health and similar-ish defense. So there is a 33% chance of spawning packed ice with 0.1 second delay. There is a 34% chance of spawning in a snowman with 0.1 delay, and a 33% chance of spawning in a frostmite with 0.1 delay. The packed ice is an enemy which first debuted on wave 5. The snowman is an enemy that can only be spawned in by a frost mystery, while the frostmite is an enemy that first appears naturally on wave 10, but through the frost mystery can appear on wave 9. On the topic of wave 10, 6 packed ice enemies spawn in here, 5 frostmite enemies spawn in here for their first natural debut, and 1 snow minion spawns in. On wave 11, 5 frostmites spawn in, 1 packed ice enemy that is bloated and aggro spawns in, 5 frozen enemies spawn in, 1 packed ice that's bloated and aggro is spawned in, 6 snowy enemies that are nimble spawn in, and 1 snow minion spawns in. On wave 12, 6 cold mists spawn in on their debut, and 1 snow minion that is bloated spawns in. On wave 13, 12 frost mysteries spawn in, and they can spawn any of the aforementioned enemies that I've mentioned previously on wave 9. Whereas on wave 14, 6 frostmites, 3 permafrosts on their debut, and 3 snow minions spawn in on this wave. On wave 15, 6 cold mists spawn in, 3 packed ice which are hidden spawn in, 6 frostmites spawn in, 1 frost hunter that is a boss immunity spawns in, and 2 snow minions spawn in. On wave 16, there is 1 unstable ice that spawns in on its debut, 4 frost mysteries spawn in, 5 packed ice that are bloated spawn in, another unstable ice spawns in on its debut wave, and 4 frost mysteries that are aggro spawn in. On wave 17, 1 permafrost that is bloated, stun immune and has health regen spawns in, 1 unstable ice that is bloated spawns in, 6 snowy enemies that are bloated spawns in, 6 frostmites and 6 cold mists also spawn in. On wave 18, 3 permafrosts that are nimble spawn in, 6 frost mysteries, 1 frost wrath that is on its debut, 5 frostmites and 1 frost wrath also on its debut on this wave spawn in. On wave 19, 4 snow minions that have stun immune and freeze immune spawn in, 5 cold mists that are nimble spawn in, 6 frostmites spawn in, 1 permafrost that is bloated spawn in, and 1 frost acolyte that is a boss enemy spawns in on this wave on its debut. The Frost Acolyte is an enemy that can summon in a bloated permafrost enemy with its ability. Meanwhile, on wave 20, 4 Frost Hunters that are stun immune spawn in, and 1 Frost Acolyte that is also stun immune spawns in. On wave 21, 1 permafrost that is aggro, bloated and stun immune spawn in, 1 unstable ice that's bloated spawn in, 6 frostmites that are bloated spawn in, 3 snow minions that are stun immune and freeze immune spawn in, and 3 crying angels on its debut spawn in on wave 21. On wave 22, 3 unstable ice spawn in, 5 crying angels spawn in, another unstable ice spawns in, 5 snow minions that are stun immune and freeze immune spawn in, 1 unstable ice spawns in, 1 frost hunter that is stun immune spawns in, and 1 frost acolyte that is stun immune spawns in. On wave 23, 4 frostmites that are bloated and nimble spawn in, 2 frost wraths spawn in, 1 frost undead on its debut spawns in, 5 frost mysteries spawn in, 4 permafrost spawn in, and 1 frost undead spawns in. On wave 24, 1 unstable ice spawns in, 5 cold mists that are bloated spawn in, 1 unstable ice spawns in, 1 frost invader that is boss and lead spawns in, and 4 snow minions spawn in. On wave 25, 3 frost acolytes that are stun immune spawn in, and 7 mega frost mysteries spawn in, and yes, mega frost mystery is what they are actually called. Now, the enemies that the Mega Frost Mystery can spawn in are a Snow Minion with 50% chance, 0.1 delay, a Cold Mist, 20% chance, 0.1 second delay, Permafrost, 20% chance, 0.1 second delay, and a Frost Wrath, 10% chance with 0.1 second delay. These enemies can spawn in with a 50% chance of having freeze immunity, 35% chance of having health regen, and a 15% chance of having aggro. And do bear in mind that the Mega Frost Mystery can spawn in 3 enemies with random attributes. On wave 26, 1 unstable ice that is nimble spawn in, 1 frost undead spawns in, 1 frost hunter that has stun immunity and aggro spawns in, 4 frost wraths spawn in, 1 unstable ice spawns in, 1 frost hunter that has stun immunity and aggro spawns in, and 6 frost mysteries that are nimble spawn in. On wave 27, 3 unstable ice spawn in, 1 frost invader that has lead, interestingly enough, spawn in, 3 mega frost mysteries spawn in, and 4 frost undead spawn in. On wave 28, 1 frost invader that has freeze immunity spawns in, 1 unstable ice spawns in, 5 permafrost spawn in, 1 unstable ice spawn in, 1 frost ravager that has boss immunity spawns in, and 3 mega frost mysteries spawn in. On wave 29, 5 frost wraths spawn in, 6 cold mists that are nimble spawn in, 1 trickster elf on its debut spawns in, 3 frost acolytes that have stun immune and are bloated spawn in, and 1 trickster health again on its debut spawn in with hidden. On wave 30, 2 frost invaders that are lead spawn in, 4 frost mysteries spawn in, 3 frost undeads spawn in, and 1 Yeti on its debut spawns in. On wave 31, 1 frost undead that is bloated spawn in, 6 mega frost mysteries spawn in, 3 unstable ice spawn in, 6 frost wrath spawn in, 1 Yeti spawns in, 3 mega frost mysteries spawn in, and then finally 5 crying angels that are nimble spawn in. On wave 32, 3 frost invaders that are lead spawn in, 10 frost wraths that are nimble spawn in, 5 crying angels that are nimble spawn in, 8 crying angels spawn in, 1 frost mage that is boss and bloated on its debut spawns in, and 6 crying angels that are nimble also spawn in. On wave 33, 1 Yeti spawns in, 3 frost hunters that are nimble and stun immune spawn in, another Yeti spawns in, 3 frost hunters that are nimble and stun immune spawn in, and another Yeti finally spawns in at the end. On wave 34, 3 unstable ice that are nimble spawn in, 2 frost acolytes that are bloated spawn in, 1 trickster elf that's hidden spawn in, 3 unstable ice that is nimble spawn in, 1 trickster elf that is hidden again spawn in, 4 frost hunters spawn in, and a frost ravager spawns in at the end. On wave 35, 1 frost ravager spawns in, 4 unstable ice spawn in, 1 frost hero that is boss, bloated and on its debut spawns in, 3 frost hunters that are aggro spawn in, 1 frost ravager spawns in, and 1 frost necromancer, also a boss enemy and also on its debut, spawns in. The Frost Necromancer can summon in 3 Frost Undead with 0.4 second delay between each spawn, which have a 85% chance of having no attribute, 5% chance of being nimble, and a 10% chance of being bloated. On wave 36, 3 Deep Freezers on their debut spawns in, 5 Mega Frost Mysteries that are nimble spawn in, 1 Frost Mage that is stun immune can spawn in, 1 Yeti spawns in, another Frost Mage that stun immune spawns in, and 6 Frost Undeads spawn in. On wave 37, 1 Yeti spawns in, 4 Deep Freezers spawn in, 8 Mega Frost Mysteries spawn in, 8 Frost Undeads spawn in, and 10 Frost Hunters spawn in. On wave 38, 1 Frost Ravager that's bloated spawns in, 1 Frost Hero that's freeze immune spawns in, 1 Frost Ravager that's bloated spawn in, 1 Frost Necromancer that's stun immune spawns in, 4 Frost Rats spawn in, 1 Frost Necromancer that's stun immune spawns in, and 3 Trickster Elves spawn in. On wave 39, 1 Frost Hero that is freeze immune spawns in, 4 Deep Freezers spawn in, 1 Frost Hero that is freeze immune spawns in, 3 Frost Mages that are stun immune spawn in, 1 Frost Hero that's freeze immune spawns in, and 8 Frost Hunters that are bloated and stun immune spawn in. And finally, on wave 40, 4 Frost Invaders that are stun immune and lead spawn in, 1 Frost Ravager that's aggro and bloated spawn in, 1 Frost Mage spawns in, 9 Frost Hunters that are bloated, nimble and stun immune spawn in, 5 Unstable Ice that are nimble spawn in, 1 Frost Mage spawns in, 6 Frost Undead that are bloated and freeze immune spawn in, 6 Mega Frost Mystery that are nimble spawn in, 1 Frost Mage spawns in, 1 Yeti spawns in, 1 Frost Ravager that's bloated spawn in, 5 Unstable Ice that are bloated and nimble spawn in, 3 Frost Heroes spawn in, 1 Frost Spirit on its debut spawns in, 8 Mega Frost Mysteries that are nimble spawn in, 3 Deep Freezers spawn in, and finally 1 Frost Necromancer spawns in.